Hello there, Byakamiyozo desu and welcome to my review of Persona 5. So, just to clarify right at the beginning, no, I didn't play the royal version, which brings a new girl to the team and an extra dungeon, if I'm not mistaken, an extra palace. I played the original version because that's the one that I had, and honestly, I have no plans of acquiring for now the royal version, so I'm just gonna review Persona 5. I also want to note that I decided to try and dress up in the style of Makoto. Uh, I don't know if I would make her a cosplay of mine, but I thought it was an interesting idea to try to do this because, fun fact, we share the same birthday. And she's one of my favorite girls alongside Anne, but we will talk later about that. So, Persona 5. We start with this nameless protagonist. I think his official name is Re Namamiya, but I may be mistaken. So he's a nameless protagonist because they really want you to put yourself in the shoes of these protagonists. So he has really few voice acted lines, and they want you to put yourself in his place. And he's like this kid who has been leading an unjust life because his life has basically been ruined because a man decided to frame him, accusing him of meddling and being meddling in the situation. So he's a powerful man and basically ruined his life. He then goes to Yogen Yaya, I think that's the name of the place. I don't remember the names, it's kind of difficult because you visit a lot of places, you have a pretty big map with places to visit, and Sojiro is the one that has Ren's custody. So you will try to behave yourself while you are in this kind of parole and try to clean you. Well, you're not trying to clean your name, but basically the game will lead you to do that. The main point of this game is for you to build relationships, and those relationships will help you get you out of various situations, on top of getting new powers, getting new abilities. So it's really the main focus of this game. It is a turn-based RPG. You have also this kind of sim because you have to manage your days and do different activities, spend your hours, but the main focus is really interacting with other people. And the game is basically you creating a team of rebels against society, so basically kids your age, and trying to take down the greedy adults that you can trust, because in some way or another the kids that join your team have all been ridiculed or have had adults disrespect them in their lives. And your ultimate goal, you don't know that yet, but your ultimate goal will be to end this. And for that, you will create the Phantom Thieves. So my team was called the Muses because you can name your team. Also, I gave my name to the protagonist, although because they don't give you an official name for him. If you search, you can find that he has an official name, and you go around doing deeds to gain popularity so that people recognize the Phantom Thieves as the face of justice that fight against the corruption that adults bring to our daily lives. And you will meet a lot of characters. So the main team is really huge. I actually thought that it was kind of a waste because you can only have in your team, besides your main character, 3 other party members. And you have a team of 6 to choose from. Of course, you have one more, which is Futaba, but you will see that Futaba is not a part of your team. She will always be with you, but not as a playable character. She is there like a supporter. And you really should develop these relationships with your teammates as much as you can. I actually failed on that because I should have developed them more, but I will share some tips of things that I think that I did really well and things that I think I didn't so well. So, in your team you have Anne, which is this. She is a model, a part-time model. She also half, so she is half Japanese, half English, if I'm not mistaken. And she really is like this really not really preoccupied person, but she really cares about her friends, so that's her main strong point. And you have Ryuji. Ryuji will be the first to join your protagonist, and he is this really hard-headed guy, but a little bit dumb. Well, maybe really dumb because he's made fun of most of the time because of that. But he's a really fun character to hang out. You also have Morgana. Morgana is this cat. He's really the most anime thing that you have because he's really not anime. He's really cartoonish in the way he presents himself in the metaverse. And Morgana is always striving because he's convinced that he's human, and he's always trying to find that answer in mementos because that's the place that he thinks he will obtain more information about his past because he has some kind of amnesia. And it's really fun to see him in his cat form. He really attaches himself to the protagonist. You also have Makoto. Makoto is the student council president, and she's this really studious girl. She's trying to follow her father and her sister's footsteps. Her sister being a detective, a member of the police force, who's also working against the protagonist because everyone. So you have this really divided opinion of if the Phantom Thieves are people that are doing the right thing, or if they're actually criminals like the others. So, it is a valid question. And then you have Yusuke. You will meet Yusuke because he's the student of a really prestiged artist that will also of course have a palace, and Yusuke is really quirky. He's really the embodiment of what you think, oh, this is an artist, and he's really quirky. Everything is about art. I really like his personality actually. And you have Futaba being the girl that's also under Sojiro. So Sojiro is her official guardian. And she's a shut-in because she's really traumatized by what happened to her mother. And I really like her relationship with the protagonist because I know she's a love interest if you want to, but I really like to see their relationship as brother and sister because I feel like I'm not sure, but I think Futaba is the younger of the group. And I really like to see their wholesome relationship where she really depends on him, and of course they have the same guardian, well, not in the same way because Sojiro is really like a father to Futaba, and for the protagonist he's more like this. He's just taking care of him while he doesn't return to his hometown, basically. But I don't remember if they explained at the beginning. I don't really get how they ended up in that situation, if Sojiro volunteered, if he knows the protagonist's family some way or another. I don't know. I think they explained at the beginning, but I did almost 100 hours in the game. I've already forgot what happened at the beginning. You have Futaba, and then you have Haru. Haru being also the daughter of a really important CEO, which also has a palace, and she will team up. And she really likes gardening. She's really this soft, calm girl. I don't have much thoughts about Haru. She's really nice, but she's not really memorable for me. And I don't think I'm missing anyone. Yeah. So you have this really big team, and each one is an expert in some kind of ability. So you have Anne with fire, Ryuji with lightning. So you really have to manage your team as you want to see certain abilities to be used during the search of palaces. Of course, you don't gain these team members right at the beginning. They will join your team as you go through the game. And of course, the protagonist is special. He does have his own persona, Arsene, but he's the trickster, so he's able to hold different personas so that you can have all the abilities at your disposal. And this is for people that have played Shin Megami Tensei. It's the same way that you convince demons to join your team. So you can fight the demons and destroy them, or if the opportunity presents itself, you can negotiate with the personas so that the personas or shadows, because before they become personas they are classified as shadows, you can negotiate with them, talk to them, and convince them to join your team. And I feel like it's really random, because I tried always to give the best answer, but sometimes it wasn't the best answer. It was some really douchebag answer that convinced them to join your team. So you just really have to try around. It's really trial and error. You have to try around, because sometimes you will give to the same type of shadow different answers, and they will be happier with one or another. So really try. And of course, you will also meet people outside of your teammates. You have lots of people. You have Chihara, who reads fortunes. You have the guy at the model gun store. You have the Ohia, who's always at the bar at night and she wants information. She's a journalist. You have I forgot her name, the doctor that's at the clinic and does shady trials with the protagonist. You have lots of people for you to connect, and sometimes you really have, because I suspected that I could have deals and arcanas with these people, but you really have to talk with them more than one time, insist. So try to talk as much as you can. And you also have one thing in here, which is managing your time. So you have to really manage how you go through your day. So when you are at school, you have no control over this, so you can only control what you do in the after school time. And after school, each day you can only do 2 activities. That's all you can do. I actually, at a certain point, I was like, why do I have to do this? But as you go through the games, you have more options of things to do, more people for you to interact and build relationships. So at a certain point, I was actually thinking, why don't I have more time? Why can't I do more than 2 actions per day? Take that time to do activities that raise your stats. Spend time with your arcanas or your relationships to level them up. Really use that time smartly. Don't worry, you can also go to stores and buy stuff that doesn't take your time away. But for example, don't waste your time like I did at the beginning, working part-times, because you will have more than enough money by the end of the game. So the problem isn't the money. Just work part-time if you see that part-time raises a stat that you need. So they usually give you some kind of a benefit, so just do part-times not because of the money, do the part-times because it raises your stats. I wasn't able to fully raise my stats. I think I was missing, you have 5 stats, and I was missing to reach the max level. I think it was charm, and I don't remember the other one. But I was able to raise all the other ones to max level, and do that because some relationships don't develop unless you have a certain level of a certain stat. See it like this: you have 2 actions, 2 activities that you can do per day, but you can only visit palaces and mementos. So mementos is, you will later figure out at the end of the game that mementos is also some kind of palace, a general public palace, but mementos is a general public place that you can visit for requests. You also do requests to help the Phantom Thieves gain popularity, and for you to also gain the trust of the general public. So I advise you to visit mementos as much as you can, because at the end of the game you will have to go through mementos in its entirety. So please do the requests through the game, because if you have the dungeon to all the dungeon or most of it to do at the end of the game, you are basically screwed. So don't do that. Go do the request and you will see that you will advance through mementos and it will cost nothing. And you have the palaces, so you have enough grind, and you should really try to manage this. As I was saying, when you do palaces, you have certain days to change the palace's owner heart. And I don't know if the number of days change as you play in different modes. I played this game on easy mode. I spent 100 hours in this game only doing one playthrough because I didn't do any more. 100 hours for one playthrough. And because the game is really big, because you have to go through the days, you have to explore the palaces, explore mementos, you have a lot of stuff to do, and you really need at least those hours to do one full playthrough up until the end. But as I was saying, when you have a palace and you have all these days, at the beginning I was like, oh, I have a strategy. Let's go to the palace, and when I spend my SP, and at the beginning you really have few SP for each character, when I spend my SP, I save and I get out of the palace, and I can return to the palace the next day. Don't do this. I don't know if it's available from right at the beginning, but if you talk to Justine, or I don't remember the name of the other one, but the guards that are at Igor's prison, so the prison in the metaverse that the protagonist visits, if you talk to them, they can for free replenish your HP and SP for the whole team. So please do that. Try, don't do what I did, because I spent too many days, I now recognize that, I spent too many days going back to the palaces when I could have used the days to do other stuff, like developing relationships, doing activities to raise my stats. Really, try to do the dungeons in 1, 2, if you must 3 days, spend really few days in the palaces. Try to do it so you can use the other days to develop relationships. Because when you go to a palace, you have to go right after school. You can't go at any other time of the day. You return to Café Blanc, LeBlanc, where you are with Sojiro. It's where you spend the night in the attic that Sojiro gives you. You return in the evening and you can't do anything. Morgana, if you try to interact with anything, Morgana just says, oh, you're too tired, right, after going through the palace, and you are forced to go to sleep and then go to school, so that's all scripted. And please try to do, because you missed a chance to do other stuff, so don't spend too many days going into the palace. For the mementos, it's the same thing. I mean, you can go if you have only one request, but try to gather at least 2-3 requests to do at the same time, because that way you can do it will be more fruitful if in just one trip to mementos, because it's the same thing. You go after school, and when you return it's evening and Morgana says, oh, you are tired, you should rest, and you can't do anything. So if I played another time, I would follow this advice. I also think I was really afraid to interact with girls, because I decided maybe around half of the game that I wanted to get Anne as my lover. Because you can also get no one as your lover, I guess, and you can also maybe conquer a lot of girls, but I wanted one, and it was Anne. If I did a second playthrough, I would probably choose Makoto, because I was really curious, because they are the two girls that I like the most. And I was really curious to see, maybe also try someone who isn't from the main team, like the doctor. That would also be a good option, but if I would only do, if I ever did, a second playthrough, and it would be for Makoto. But I was really afraid to develop relationships with girls to the max level, because I thought, oh, if you have too much trust with too many girls, maybe you will end up in a tight spot or something like that. No, the game warns you when you are going to have a dialogue that is going to really determine the kind of relationship that you have with that person. So they warn you, and you just have to choose the friend zone answer, and you will be out of harm's way. And you really should develop everyone's relationship to max level, because for the team members, their personas have more power, they become more powerful, and for the other people that you can interact with, they give you advantages when fusing personas. You raise their levels as arcanas and unlock hidden abilities. So really try to raise the relationships with them to the max level. Another thing, sometimes when you are on holiday, on vacation, some of your friends will send you messages for you to spend with them the entire day. Ryuji did that, I think Mishima also did that, and Yusuke. I think those are the three that I experienced those kinds of invitations. And you can accept them, but maybe I would advise you not to spend the entire day, because at a certain point they ask, oh, I'm getting kind of hungry, do you want to eat? And maybe you shouldn't accept, because your whole day is taken by them and you can't do other activities. And I didn't see really the advantages of this, because they say, oh, it will raise your friendship, but I didn't see that much raise in the friendship. I don't know. If anyone is more knowledgeable in this, please tell me. I want to talk about some really important moments in the game, so this part will have spoilers for anyone that has yet to finish or has yet to play the game. Also, this review will not have that much cutscenes, because unfortunately Atlas, even at this point, after so many time after the game has been released, still blocks every cutscene. But you have these really interesting moments that we have to talk about, which is, for example, Akechi's sacrifice. I was really surprised, because I thought, oh, he did this at this point, but you know, metaverse, and you had already had the thing where the protagonist dies but he doesn't. I will talk about that, but I was really surprised when he didn't return, and I thought, oh, this is permanent. I didn't expect that. In the opposite impression you have also Morgana. So you will discover, because you will explore Mementos fully, you will understand and discover Morgana's origin, what he really is. And at the end, when you destroy Mementos and uncover and basically destroy, it's the end of the Phantom Thieves because there is no more metaverse. You will have this moment where Morgana will disappear. And since you had Akechi's sacrifice before, you will think that this is permanent. And that moment was really emotional and it had a lot of impact. And then you will see a lot of time go by as things try to get normal again in their world. And suddenly Morgana is back because he says, oh, you know, myself in the metaverse was destroyed and disappeared, but because you remember me and I'm part of your cognition in the real world, I get to keep my cat body and exist in the real world. Because you have this plot where they say anything that you can change the world because the way you perceive it is the way the world presents itself to you. So I think that's the logic here, because Morgana should disappear because he was created in the metaverse. So he should not exist in the real world if he was destroyed in the other world. But you know, they didn't want to make you lose Morgana, but I think it would be more impactful if they did, but decisions. And also, in that note, you also have the fake death of the protagonist, where Akechi thinks he has killed the protagonist, but actually he killed his version or a fake one in the metaverse without realizing he was in the metaverse. But that also doesn't make any sense, because when you are in the metaverse and you are killed, it's game over. So it's like that thing in the Matrix. If you die in the fake world, because the body cannot live without the mind, if you die in the fake world, you also die in the real world, because that's how you perceive it. I don't know, that was because the protagonist didn't perceive as if he was dead. I felt like that was one of those moments where they are once again reaffirming that the protagonist is the player, because you are watching from outside and they tell you how the protagonist must have enjoyed all that because he saw Akechi trying to kill him, but he wasn't able to do it and it was really interesting. Okay, I think that was one of those moments where the fourth wall breaks because the explanation in itself doesn't make a lot of sense. About choosing one of the girls to be your lover at the end of the game, I don't think that it really affects how you finish the game. Yes, you are able to spend more time with her. In my case, I chose Anne. I like to see her story up until the end. I like the interactions, the romantic interactions that you can have with her. But besides the occasional kiss, whenever it was they were having a more intimate moment, it would fade out to black and just say, oh, you just spent a romantic evening with Anne. And I'm like, what's that? Did they cuddle? Did they what? Please show me more. Just show a more. It seems like they want to keep it. I was not saying that I want something explicit, but at least see more interactions beside dialogues. But if you want, you can choose a lover. You can also don't choose. I don't know if there are different endings, in the sense that maybe you have bad endings, maybe you have neutral endings. I don't know. You have a really happy ending because you were able to defeat all the criminals, all the trashy adults in your way. You have also done really good relationships. Also, if you develop, I suppose this is my conclusion from what I saw, if you develop all relationships to the max, when you are saying goodbye to return to your hometown, you can have a little extra moment where they give you key items to when they say goodbye to you. I only had who were the people I said goodbye? Mishima, Makoto's sister, and Sojiro. Those were the only ones that I maxed out the relationship, so those were the only, and of course. Those were the only ones that I reached the max relationship, so those were the ones that said goodbye. I don't understand what the key items are for, because you finished the game, but at the same time, at the end, they tell you you have this kind of like new game plus. I don't know if that affects somehow. I think the game has replay value a lot, but at the same time, playing another 100 hours of this, it's not really appealing for me. Maybe one day when I have played all the games that I want to play, or at least most of them, maybe I will return to Persona 5, try to do all these advices that I'm giving you and do a different playthrough now that I really understand the game in all its entirety. But for now, 100 hours is enough for me, because you would have to spend the same amount, because there's no way to spend less time, because you have to go through the days, and you have to, not because the game makes you, but because if you want the abilities and the relationships, you should do it, okay? So that's my impression of the game. I say it's a really good game. I really like turn-based RPGs. They have lots of different mechanics. I really enjoyed the story too. The cognitive stuff, it's really interesting. The soundtrack is also really good. It's fitting. It's not on my top soundtracks in games, but it's really good. I really like the songs. The soundtrack is really nice to listen to. So this is my perspective on this game. If you have other advices, other things that you know about this game, like secrets that you want to share, feel free to do so in the comments. As always, like this video, subscribe if you like this content, and check my Twitch channel if you want to see me play other games. Unfortunately, unless I get the capture card, I can't stream Persona 5. But maybe one day, who knows? So, thank you so much, and I will see you next time.